The NBA trade deadline has finished and there have been 15 trades that have occurred, and it's our time to do the recap. Welcome everyone, this is Winnew, and today we're going to recap all the NBA trades that happened in the trade deadline and see which teams are the winners and which teams are the losers. And it's our time to do the recap. Welcome to the recap show.
They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang!
So for the warm-up, the first trade that happened on trade deadline was Delon Wright to the Kings for Corey Joseph and 2 second-round picks, which is the 2021 Lakers and the 2024 Kings. For this trade, it's a bit of a win-win for both teams, as Delon Wright would be interesting on how he would play with Tyrese Halliburton as the backup for either De'Aaron Fox or Buddy Hield. It would be interesting for how they would blend together with Tyrese in the backcourt for the bench. So for Corey Joseph, this is also an interesting thing for him because he would be like the veteran guard who could teach Dennis Smith Jr. on how they would play. So this is like a win-win for both teams, but it would be very interesting for the Kings and Delon Wright. For the next trade that happened on the trade deadline was Denver receiving Javale Maggie from Cleveland for Isaiah Hartenstein and 2 second-round picks, which is for the 2027 and the 2023 second-round pick. This is a very good trade for Denver, as they really need a center backup for their bench, as Jokic is the one always dominating, and that's one of their problems in their bench. They don't have a really good center. So with JaVale McGee, they have a productive and defensive center, which would be very useful for them in their coming runs for the playoffs. With Isaiah Hartenstein, he is also a very key player for the timeline of the Cleveland Cavaliers, as they are young, and Isaiah Hartenstein has been young as well. He has also been giving good productive stats, I would say sometimes, for Denver. And with the 2 second-round picks, which would be very useful for them, this is a good trade for both teams. For the very biggest trade in the NBA trade deadline today, and it goes for the Chicago Bulls. Nikola Vucevic and the Chief Al-Farouq Aminu goes to Chicago for Wendell Carter Jr., Otto Porter Jr., and 2 first-round picks. I'm not sure if it's a top 4 of 2021 and 2023 Chicago Bulls pick. This is a very good trade for Chicago, as it is something they need for the run in the playoffs. As you can see, they are the number 10th seed in the NBA standings for the Eastern Conference Finals. And with LaMelo Ball injured, I think Charlotte is going to go down, with Chicago going and rising up to those standings. This is also a fun trade, as if you know, Nikola Vucevic is an all-star and Zach LaVine is an all-star. It's their first time to have 2 all-stars in the same team after a long time. Chicago Bulls basketball is back. And I'm just gonna say that it's really back, bro. It will be also interesting because like we don't know how they would blend with each other, especially late in this season, because they only have limited games left. It's not really an 82, I think it's a 72. So we will see how they would blend and they would play in the playoffs. People are saying that this is a bad trade or like a first round exit type of trade. Bro, for Chicago Bulls fans, they will take even a playoff berth, bro. Even though they will lose in the first round, they would take it. It's been a long time since they've seen the playoffs, bro. You gotta understand that. So this is really a win trade for them. For Orlando, I mean, this is also a rebuilding stage for them, as what their general manager says. Vucevic and Evan Fournier, which we'll be going into in a while, are giving them games to win. So it's gonna be a retooling or rebuilding type for them. And Terence Ross is gonna lead them to it, bro. He's the captain there. He put even a tweet on it that he's the captain. So we're gonna see it. But this is really a good trade, especially for Chicago. Speaking of Evan Fournier, we've got Evan Fournier to Boston for 2 second-round picks. This was a steal, bro. This was really a steal. No one expected it to be. When trades were happening or talks were happening, people thought that they would trade Marcus Smart for Evan Fournier. But Danny Ainge do his magic, bro. If he didn't do anything in this trade deadline, I think all Boston fans would be mad because they are in the playoffs, but they are really not that good. You know what I'm saying? They're in the standings to be in the playoffs, but they're not really that good. They really need to do something for their bench and other players as well. With Kemba Walker sometimes off in his games, and Jalen Brown and Jason Tatum kind of tired always because they both carrying the team. They really need another score, especially off the bench. And I don't know if Evan Fournier will be off the bench or will be starting, but he is a good piece to get buckets for them. And this is really a good trade for. Next, we have Troy Brown and Mo Wagner to Chicago for Daniel Gafford and Chandler Hutchinson. Gafford is an extremely energetic player which will be very useful for Washington, especially with Thomas Bryant still out and Robin Lopez really doing it well. So him being a backup for Robin Lopez will be a very great team. And watching Chicago Bulls games, he has been very productive with his playing time and playing minutes. He could sometimes like go for a double double if he could, but yo, he's really been great. He's really a good productive player, a good energetic player for them. For Troy Brown and Mo Wagner was traded for Daniel Tice, which is also a very good thing because if you look at it, Chicago doesn't have any defensive centers so far. With them getting ties from Boston, that has been a great deal for them as they have a defensive center who could back up Vucevic once he's tired. So this is really a good trade, and so far, or all I can say, Chicago has been one of the winners for this NBA trade deadline. Next, we get one also of the biggest trades in the trade deadline, which was Aaron Gordon to Denver for Gary Harris, Gary Clark, RJ Hampton, and a first round pick, which will be in 2025. The, this is a fun trade, but this was also questionable and interesting for me because they should have asked for Bol Bol. They don't have a power forward except for Chuma Okiki, and also I think Mobamba if he plays power forward sometimes. They don't have another backup power forward. So them getting Otto Porter, I don't know if he would, but them not getting another backup power forward is one of the things that interest me. And I wanted Bol Bol to go there with RJ Hampton. If you don't know, RJ Hampton before before the 2020 draft, he was like the number one pick. Okay, was like the number one pick for when we were still in high school. Okay, they were batchmates with Melo, but RJ Hampton was the number one guy before Edwards came and Lamelo and Wiseman came. RJ was the top guy. He could do it all, but when he went to Australia, he had bad games. He didn't do productive that much. That's why his stock went down. I really believe in RJ Hampton. He's been one of my favorites to watch even in high school. So I think he'll be very great, and it will be also interesting as he would play with Fultz and he would play with Cole Anthony. He fits those timelines with three heavy guards. That's also fun or interesting to watch. We don't know what would happen with them, but yo, it's also fun. And for Denver, they got Aaron Gordon, Jokic to Gordon alley oops. Better watch out for that, bro. You better watch out for that. Or an MPJ miss to a Aaron Gordon follow-up alley-oop. Bro, you gotta do that, bro. Does not only do finishes, but he also do spaces the floor as well, as he has also jumpers and mid-range. So that would be also fun. With Millsap already off the bench, yo, that will be great for spacing, bro. But the spacing would be great. And let's see what they would offer and see how they would run going through the playoffs. Next, we have Nemanja Bjelica to Miami for Mo Harkless and Chris Silva to Sacramento. It's really an air trade, bro. Bjelica will do his thing and Miami will do really work the spacing for them, especially with Hero and Duncan Robinson, great shooters. He's also a great shooter for his position. So that's all I can say. It's a really great win trade for Miami. And Sacramento, you gotta do things, bro. More Harkless has been a great defender. We gotta do more. I don't know what he would do defensively for them and a bit of offense. He would be a great veteran for likes of Tyrese and Bag. Next is we got George Hill, Iggy Brazdakis to Philly for Tony Bradley, Austin Rivers, and 2 second-round picks to OKC, with Terrence Ferguson going to New York. As a Philly fan, I am already happy but sad as well because we already have our playmaker. Okay? We didn't give much or we didn't really accept a trade for Kyle Lowry because we didn't want to give our young assets, especially with Matisse or with Shake or with Tyrese. We want to keep Matisse has been great for us and he would be a really great defender for us in the coming of years. He's one of our favorite players in Philly and us not giving him out is one of the W trades for us. But it's also sad because we lost Tony Bradley. If you look at the Philly games, he has been starting and he has been playing very well. Yo, even me, even Tony, even Joel Embiid notices it. I will put a tweet right here. Yo, I didn't really want Tony Bradley to be traded, bro. Tony Bradley has been great. With OKC getting it, this is a really win trade for them. My friend who's an OKC fan said that they had a lot of power forward centers. I don't know how they would do it with Poku and Roby still there, but I want Tony Bradley to be the one to hopefully start for it. With Al Horford getting old, yo, I want Tony Bradley to be like one of the future centers, but I'm not sure. But he has been like the best center or a good developing center for them. And for OKC, yo, you got a good one, bro. Especially with Austin Rivers, you got a really good one, bro. So you better take care of Tony Bradley, bro. Tony Bradley has been one of my favorite players to watch with Embiid out. But also the sad thing for Philly fans is that we don't have a backup center. We don't have. Because with Embiid still out and George Hill is still a bit injured, we still got the same team. But we don't have a backup center or a center as Dwight Howard will be the one to start. So I think it's Paul Rudd or Paul Reed, the one who is leading or the one who is the G League MVP. I think he could be in a call up for us. So I think it's time. Especially we don't have extra big, so I think it's time for him to step up and play while Embiid is still injured. Next, we have a interesting trade for everyone. Everyone was confused with this trade. Me, as also a Portland fan, I was good with it, bro. I was happy with it because Norman Powell goes to Portland for Gary Trent and Rodney Hood. They both play the same, but if you would see it, both wins for both teams. As Gary Trent fits with the timeline of OG Anunoby, Pascal Siakam, and Van Vliet, with Norman Powell being the better player for the team that is going to a playoffs. And he could be like our best six man if Melo wants doesn't want to be six man, but he could be the best off the bench as well with Melo. So this is really a good trade, but the problem is if we would pay more to make him stay with us in the free agency. So I think that would be also good, especially for both teams as they need to trade Garrett. They not trade. They gotta resign Garrett Trent and they gotta resign Norman Powell. With Lillard and McCollum trying to win now, Norman Powell Norman Powell can do that for them. Not really that much, but he could be the one to product for the bench side. And Gary Trent and Rodney Hood could be the ones leading for the future of Toronto. And speaking of Toronto, we'll talk about Kyle Lowry later. So I think this is win for both teams. The problem is how they would resign him. I think he would pay more to get Norman Powell or let Norman Powell stay and Rodney Hood and Gary Trent a bit less. But we will see what happens in the future as their focus is right now. Let's move on with another trade that goes for To Utah for Matt Thomas to Utah for a second round pick. If we look at all of these trades, bro, in the last 2 hours after the Norman Powell trade, it has been completely quiet. From 1 o'clock to almost 3 o'clock, it has been completely quiet. So it's so quiet that you got like, yo, where are the trades, man? And this Matt Thomas to Toronto, Utah. Toronto was trying to find ways on how to free more space for more available players because they were trying to trade for Kyle Lowry. And we'll talk about Kyle Lowry later. So we gotta move on to the next. The Rondo for Lou Will. Rondo goes to Clippers. Lou Will goes to the Hawks. He goes back home. For me, and I think for everyone, it's like an ad trade as Rondo would really help them as he could be like the best point guard for them, especially in the playoffs. And for Lou Will, he could be like the what you call this the mentor for Trey Young to be interesting. But Lou Will said he would retire, bro. If he would get traded, he would retire. And that will be interesting in the couple of days or weeks if he would really do it. I think we never have a player that retired because of a trade. I think they don't have. So that would be interesting. That would be very interesting. And based on their productions, they have been a bit off this season, like literally off. But Rondo goes like a spark plug every playoffs. So we gotta see what would happen to them, especially for the Clippers, as they're like a really a good team. Next, we have another Toronto trade with Terrence Davis to Sacramento. Toronto has just been like doing trades or releasing players most of the time. And Terrence Davis to Sacramento, another guard for them, which will be I don't know what they would do with those lots of guards, as especially if they can't release them right now. So we will see what would happen. The last trade, well, I think it wasn't really the last trade, but it was the one of the biggest trades before it cut off. Was the Victor Oladipo to Miami for Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley. Bro, that's a win, bro. Especially you keep all your rotational players. I'm not really sure if Kelly Olynyk's still a rotational player, but they didn't give Duncan Robinson. They didn't release Duncan Robinson. They didn't release Tyler Hero, bro. Them keeping all the rotational players, that's a win, bro. Especially with Victor Oladipo in the culture type, and it fits the culture and it fits the timeline as well. Yo, that would be interesting as well, bro. And I with Oladipo not being in his same productive like throughout the years, we will see if he has the motivation again to do it or be himself like before or years before. So this will be a fun trade for Miami and will be a fun team to watch for Miami in the coming days to come. Yo, I'm excited for Miami. Yo. Miami is also one of the biggest winners in this trade. And for Houston, bro. Yo, Houston has been the biggest loser this season, automatically this season. 20 straight L's, 20 straight loses. this season, John Wall even like there was like talks during this time now during this time that he was going for a buyout, but it never happened. So it's going to be like a so we don't know what happens, but from the latest report, it's like that he won't the trade buyout the buyout things are not happening, so it's gonna be safe. With Christian Wood still injured, but yo, imagine, bro, you went from Harden to now Kelly Olynyk and Avery Bradley. Bro. You could have gotten Caris LeVert, you could have gotten Jarrett Allen, but you went with Christian Wood. No, I'm not like saying that Christian Wood is bad. He is my most improved player this year. But yo, what could have been? What could have been from Harden to now Olynyk and Bradley? Imagine that. And for the last trade is Marquise Chris to Spurs. Eh, really not that much to say. But yo, let's talk about the trades that never happened. The first trade that never happened was the Kyle Lowry trade. Three teams, okay? Three teams, bro. The Sixers, the Miami, and the Lake. No one got it. Sixers was the leading team from 12 to 1. And by almost 2, they were out. The Lakers and the Miami. Well, all of these trades we don't or didn't happen because they wanted a young player. Miami didn't want to give Tyler Hero as their trade package focused on I think was Duncan Robinson. They didn't want to give Tyler Hero, especially there's like a fanboy favorite like there in Miami. For Sixers fans, Sixers didn't want to give Tybo. And it's also good because we didn't want to give Tybo. Tybo is one of our key pieces for the future. And lastly, for Lakers, they didn't want to give out Taylor Horton Tucker. I don't know why. I don't know why. I think it's because they think Taylor Horton Tucker will be the one that would fit for Davis once LeBron will be out, like or LeBron will be gone or retiring. That would be a sad day for the NBA. But I think that's what they're thinking for the future. But yo, Lowry, but yo, I understand why teams didn't want to do it. They don't want to risk a less than a year rental for Kyle Lowry as he would be a free agent this free agency and he would walk out. So like you would lose your future players. So yeah, I understand why. I really understand why. And I think it's best for also for Kyle Lowry to remain as a Raptor as he is the greatest Raptor player of all time. So greatest Raptor player of all time. So I think that's also a good thing for him to stay once again. And I don't know if he would leave this season, but since with him selling his house, I think he's gonna leave next season. But it also be okay for both parties, for Raptors and Kyle Lowry, as he has given already much, and they want to see him win again or be good to other players as well. So, and he doesn't fit the timeline as well for Toronto. So I think it's time for him also to move on and find another team, try to win another championship. And lastly, he said that he would retire as a Raptor, no matter what contract it is. And I appreciate that or I like that thing because it shows how dedicated he is to becoming a Raptor. Next is the Lonzo Ball trade. Never happened, bro. You want a and I it, next is the Lonzo Ball trade. It never happened. Chicago almost got it, but it never happened. And Troydan is very happy right now. Also, I think also in uh New Orleans, I think they're happy because they can see Alonzo and Zion once again. Yo, oh man, I don't know. It's also interesting that Alonzo didn't get traded. I don't know why. Yeah, he's been also great as well. So let's get so those are the trades that happened. Let's go on with the winners and the losers. For the winners, we have Chicago and Miami. Chicago done it. They got the All Star. They got the biggest trade. Right? And for Miami, they have also Oladipo and they have Bielitsa who could really help them space out more. So that would be fun to watch, especially with their shooting. It would improve as well. So that would be fun. I don't know how deep Miami could go. Pause. But we will see once playoff starts. The playoffs start. I think another winner is also Denver because they got Aaron Gordon, which would be also great for their spacing as well and for their finishing type. So it's also fun and really interesting to watch. Also Boston, as they didn't give anything, or like they only gave like second round picks for Evan Fournier. That's already a steal, bro. And they kept Marcus Smart. That's already a steal, really steal. For the losers, we have Houston. Nothing left to say. I'll just tell this one: Harden. Then you turn it into Olenek and Bradley, Avery Bradley. Nothing else. Nothing else. And yeah, I think that's the only losers for this season, bro. With all of this, I think we still have the resignings, and with LMA getting out and Drummond getting out buyout, we never see where they would go. So let's get on. Let's see in the coming of days what would happen. Let's see in the coming of days what would happen and see where they would go and how they would impact the team more. With all these trades, bro, it's been a fun trade deadline. But I'll tell you this one: if you were waiting, bro, okay, from 1 to 2 o'clock in the morning or in the afternoon, it's been quiet. And all of these trades happening, it's also fun, especially in the buzzer beater trade was the Oladipo to Miami. It was also a fun trade to happen. And yeah, we will see where all these teams could go and see how far these trades impact players, especially the Vujovic and the Fournier and the Norman Powell. I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like, share, comment, and subscribe to this video, to this channel, and give out more video suggestions if you have any. And I'll see you soon.